The future of Social Security is a great concern to young, working people of Connecticut. Many of them emailed us to submit questions for this debate, and they're worried about what's going to be available when they retire. As Senator, what will you bring before Congress to address this situation before this generation retires?
Very important question. Let me say first that Social Security is probably the best thing the federal government has ever done. 1 out of 5 seniors in America depend on Social Security for all of their income. 160,000 seniors in Connecticut, men and women, I meet them every day here in Connecticut, would live below the poverty level were it not for Social Security. I want to repeat what I said on Monday in Stamford. The Social Security Trust Fund has enough money to pay benefits through 2040, a dollar for a dollar due. We've got to get together across party lines to figure out how to sustain it beyond that. I've made some efforts to do that, and I look forward in the next term to doing the same, but that's not enough. We acted in this session of Congress to pass pension guarantee programs to make sure that corporations were protecting the pension rights of their workers who they'd promised pensions, and we're putting enough money in to do that. And finally, we've got to give more incentives to middle-class people to create their own retirement savings programs to complement and supplement Social Security. But Social Security is the base.
You know, Joe, you said it again, and this is why I'm running against you. You said that Social Security is all set to the year 2040. Well, you know, I was thinking of a way maybe you can understand this issue. Maybe I can grab your attention, Joe. I say we repeal congressional pensions and we put the Congress under Social Security like the rest of us. Maybe this guy then will understand this. You know, look it. You know, you can't do this in a minute again. I'm back to my Face the Nation comment. But, you know, I have to tell you, there is no money in the Social Security Trust Fund. It's a cruel hoax on all of you in this audience, and more importantly, all of you at home. Let them tell you the truth. They must tell you the truth. We have to start putting money away. I'm the only candidate for the United States Senate, I think, in the country that has offered solutions to solve this pressing problem that's affecting all of us in the United States. It can be done. Bob, this can happen. But we have to stick together. And the longer the ostriches, and you know, I know you're just a member of the flock, but you know, it's time for you to fly away.
All right, let me at this point ask the audience to please refrain from having a reaction. It just takes away from your candidate's time. All right, Mr. Lamont.
Senator Lieberman's been on both sides of the Social Security issue. He was for privatization, then he was against it, then last year in the Hartford Courant, he said, great. I think we ought to be here and be clear with the American people, be clear with our seniors. We're going to be here to fight for Social Security. It's a guaranteed benefit. You've learned to depend upon it, and you can count upon it. It's not a tough fix. When it comes to economic growth, look, Alan, look what the surpluses we had back in the 1990s. We, at that point, were saving for Social Security. We've turned those into deficits. That makes it more at risk. We're going to turn that around, get our fiscal house in order, and make sure that Social Security is there so you can count on it.
All right, Mr. Nips.
Repealing congressional pensions and putting them on Social Security, an idea that when I ran for Congress in '96, I brought up. Thanks for agreeing with me, Alan. I think that we need a partial privatization of Social Security, and I take that money and break it into 2 groups, the employer's contribution and the employee's contribution. The employer's contribution will stay in a system much like we have today, and that'll be to fund things such as Social Security disability insurance, which would be underfunded with full privatization. The other thing is to eliminate the cap on earnings. Tax every dollar for Social Security. That puts the extra funds in to transition to this. And then you need to move slowly to this privatization. You can't wake up tomorrow and say, okay, all the money, all your contribution is going to go into it. No, because that would not leave the money in the system to fund our liability to those on it or close to it.
All right, Mr. Paricci.
We use money from Social Security to pay for other programs. It's not a lie. We all know that. How about if we just pay it back? There's money that our government overspends on the Pentagon. The Pentagon has lost 12 tanks. Don't know where they are. They know they have them. How about if we start taking some of the money that we overspend the Pentagon and put it back into Social Security and actually pay for benefits? You know, most people here probably work for somebody and their employer pays half of Social Security. I'm self-employed. I pay double. So I would like to have Social Security when I retire because you know what? I'm going to need it. Like most of the people here, I'm going to need it. And if I'm putting in twice as much as everybody else, I want it there. We need to fix Social Security and make sure the government stops taking money out of it to pay for other programs.
All right. 30-second round, Senator Lieberman.
Alan Schlesinger and I have a disagreement about whether there's real money in the Social Security Trust Fund. There is. Are there IOUs? There are, because the federal government is in deficit, and that's why I've supported pay-as-you-go government. I will do everything I can, working with the Republican Senator George Voinovich of Ohio, to make that pass. Let me try one more time with Ned Lamont on Social Security privatization, because no matter how many times I say it, it is a fact. I am against Social Security privatization. I will do everything I can, as long as God gives me a life, to protect Social Security, because a lot of seniors depend on it for their lives.
All right, Mr. Schlesinger.
Joe, I respect you in every way. You got to talk to the Government Accountability Office. You've got to talk to people who understand this stuff. I'm telling you, from the bottom of my heart, this thing is not funded. It's IOUs from Joe Lieberman and Al Gore. That was the lockbox. The lockbox with IOUs for them. There is no money put aside for Social Security. I explained this in the other debate. They take the money in, they spend it, and then they think it's still there. Only in Washington can you think this way.
We need a fundamental change in how we're doing business in Washington, D.C. We have a cash shortfall when it comes to Social Security within the next 15 years, as Alan says. What do? Talk about privatization just weakens Social Security and takes money out of the trust funds. We have a dependence upon foreign energy. What do? Come up with an energy bill that makes us more dependent upon oil. And we have a terrorist threat. What do? We go and invade Iraq. That just makes us all the more vulnerable. We need a fundamental change in terms of how we're doing business in Washington.
Mr. Nibbs.
Obviously, Mr. Lamont's not paying attention to what I said, because he would be helping us to bridge that gap and keep enough funds in there because of his high salary if we remove that cap. But I suggest we start with 1%, take 1% and be able for us to be able to direct that into a privatized system. But that system can only be invested in U.S. companies and U.S. bonds so that it helps grow our economy, and then only in funds that have a very low, or in the top 25% for risk.
Mr. Pritchard.
I have a problem with privatization, and I'm hoping Lieberman's telling the truth here that he does. If we move towards privatization of anything, we move towards corruption, we move towards for-profit. I would not like to see Social Security move in that direction. I also would not like to see us putting money into the stock market. If we have another market crash, everybody will lose everything. Right now, your bank accounts are FDIC insured. If we go into the stock market, it's not.